Hello everyone, welcome back to Gentoo. All things gaming, no tech.
No tech.
Hello everyone and welcome back to your favorite show for all things gaming and rarely tech related, Gentoo. I'm Jonas Pelot.
And I'm Gabe Chadwick. Thanks for tuning in to this episode of Gentoo. It's gonna be a great one. Let's look at what games are releasing this week.
The name's Pikachu, and I'm what you might call a great detective.
Unravel a series of mysteries across Rhyme City with a tough-talking, coffee-loving Pikachu and his human partner, Tim Goodman. When a jewel theft occurs, the case sets this great detective duo down a path filled with mystery. Why did Tim's father, Harry, go missing? What is causing Pokemon-related incidents around Rhyme City? Answer these questions and more by searching for clues, investigating scenes, and using your case notebook to make deductions. Detective Pikachu releases on October 6th on Switch.
Embark on an all-new adventure filled with unlikely friendships, unknown adversaries, and ugly revenge plots. Wage war against your foes with a cast of new commanders and utilize their new tiered groove system ability to sway the fight in your favor. Design and share maps, cutscenes, and campaigns with easy-to-use editors and in-depth customization tools. Wargrove 2 comes out on October 5th, 2023 for PC and Switch. Don't forget to like and subscribe to Gentoo.
Now let's watch another story from the Foxhole.
The Great Northern Offensive is one of the first breakthroughs on the Warden side of the war, but it was quickly halted at a Collie border base that had been fortified heavily against our next assault. Concrete and guns bristling all over the place, there wasn't much we could do except dig in outside. And so that's what we did. The next couple days, we spent most of our time just entrenching further in to make it harder for the Collies to ever try and push us back from this position. And while we were waiting for the artillery to come in, we just dug further and further. Eventually, High Command had the genius idea that we could just dig right to them, and that's what we did. Me and another squad of guys were tasked with digging trenches offensively towards the enemy lines. So, we started digging away. There were 6 of us with shovels at one point. We'd hop in the trenches and start digging forward. Our brothers in arms would lay down fire ahead of us while we tried to just dig as the bullets were flying overhead. Every once in a while, a trench would get destroyed here and there, but an inch forward was an inch forward, and we took what we could get. The fighting was heavy. Every inch of ground we gained, we lost 5 or 10 men. Some were questioning whether it was worth it, but High Command said that we needed to push through this offensive, break through to the other side, and then we were free into the Collie Northlands. But the problem was just getting to that bunker base in the first place. Friendly tanks did their best to give us support. Every once in a while, one brazen lad would jump out of the trenches and try and hold down the Collies himself, pushing ahead of us, laying down fire. But unfortunately, they never made it very far. But the time they gave us was never wasted. Every second that they gave us was another second that we could get a shovel full of dirt out of that trench. War is filled with sacrifices. You just gotta hope and pray that it's not you being the one forced to sacrifice something. With preparations for the offensive still ongoing, it was found out that the artillery was going to be delayed, and so was the offensive. So they started reshuffling squads here and there, and my squad was selected to be moved out of Fort Windham to the south. We were going to be getting shipped to a sector called the Deadlands, and they had earned that name for a good reason. Some say historically it's because nothing grew there, but now, with all the shell holes in the artillery, nothing's ever going to grow there again. We'd been taking some pretty heavy casualties in the Deadlands, with several failed offensives, but now there was some new technology supposed to be coming out that was going to help us push. It was some old machinery that they'd discovered, called it relic technology. Said it was going to change the war for us. And there'd been rumors on the other side that the Collies had discovered it too. So, a new arms race was born in this war. But I was just a foot soldier. And I did what High Command ordered. And I didn't ask questions. This has been Stories from a Foxhole. Thank you for tuning in, and we'll see you next week.
Hey Hey, you guys want to play Valorant? Said no one ever? Get that out of here. Look, I want to show you a real man's game. And no, I'm not going to say something like CSGO or CSGO 2 or Overwatch or Overwatch 2. Why do we keep making sequels for the same game with barely any changes? Man, get those out of here too. Listen up. I want to tell you about a real game. Dare I say, the most intense game ever made. Slime Rancher. This game is truly unforgiving and cruel to play through. And don't let its adorable graphics distract you. Your goal is to start and run a whole ranch by using your little vacuum here to suck up these little monsters and keep them in captivity so you can harvest their poops. Oh, sorry, plorts for money. Like what? This game is disturbing to its core. And don't forget to feed them, or else they'll get all angry and start escaping from their captivity. And don't think about making your walls taller. They will work together to tower out of those bad boys like they're zombies in World War Z. They can even eat each other's plorts to grow stronger and overpower you. Wow, there's so many of them! Ah! You have to traverse through lots of terribly dangerous landscapes to find and capture more of these horrific slimes for those high-value new bucks. And they have all kinds of powers to put you in more danger and make your day even worse. Like, they can range from having sharp rocks or crystals all over them and sonic spin dashing into you to turning invisible and attacking you from the shadows or give you radiation poisoning. They can even blow up like a literal explosive. No, please. And even after you capture all these guys, you better watch out, because if they eat too many of each other's little poopy plorts, then they can mutate into this crazy monstrosity and spread it around to all your other slimes like the plague. Quick, quick, get the water, get the water! Oh, and the music. Don't get me started on the music. And you thought Doom had a crazy hardcore soundtrack. Now listen to this. Ooh, I just got goosebumps. Look, guys, I am truly broken as a person. This game took everything from me. I have spent hours, days, weeks learning everything I can about this world and its creatures to even get close to making a living. But after everything I have seen, there is still one thing that is by far the worst. It is the most terrible and unforgiving thing ever created. The stock market. Everything is crashing again. In this economy? How am I gonna pay rent now? No!
All right, that was good, y'all. It's in the breakdown set. Hey, welcome to Nerd Central, your one-stop shop for anything movies, TV shows, and even the latest celebrity news.
From the newest releases and even your local film festival, we'll have it all right here.
We're here to uncover the Easter eggs that you might have missed and even the secret plot lines that you might not have picked up on. Right here, we'll uncover the mysteries on Nerd Central.
Launching Wednesdays at 6 on KNWT TV.
And coming up next here, I'll have my interview with our new guest here on Who's Next on the X right after this quick break.
Tyler, Dave, we're on in 20.
Good morning.
Not a lot of us do, you know, but maybe this might be your opportunity for that. Yeah.
Who's Next on the X?
Welcome to Audio Odyssey, a show where we dive into some of the best video game soundtracks and what makes them so great. This week, we're going to take a look at the Halo 3 soundtrack. Halo 3 is another one of my favorite games. I remember staying up late every night to play Halo and talking about Halo all the time with my friends. As the years go by, it's hard to remember every level in the game and everything that had happened. But if there's one thing that I'll never forget about Halo, is its music. If you play video games or at least know a little about them, you've probably heard at least one Halo song. Halo's music will always be one of the most popular and loved video game themes of all time, and Halo 3's soundtrack definitely lived up to expectations. Halo 3 was released on September 25th, 2007, and the game immediately flew off the shelves due to the amazing marketing and the insane anticipation for the game. The soundtrack of Halo also helped sell the game even more when Halo fans heard their favorite theme in the reveal trailer. The amazing 32-song soundtrack of Halo 3 was written and composed by Martin O'Donnell and Michael Salvatore. O'Donnell and Salvatore also created the previous Halo soundtracks, but had never worked with an actual orchestra before in the previous Halos. Halo 3 marks the first time in the series where the music was recorded live. Salvatore and O'Donnell first met in college and continued to be friends and worked together even after graduating. Both of them originally started their careers writing small jingles for radio and TV at a studio Salvatore started. After a successful beginning to their careers, it really took off when they got the attention of Bungie and they began working on the first Halo together. Obviously, their music was an amazing addition to the first Halo, and they were invited back to continue working with Bungie for years to come. I think Halo's soundtrack is one of the reasons Halo became so popular. Without its music, Halo simply wouldn't feel anything like Halo. Like I mentioned earlier, I'll never forget Halo 3's music, and I think that has to do with how iconic it is. Halo 3's music uses the same themes heard in the previous Halo games, but it's written in a whole new way and many new instruments were introduced. One of these new instruments being the piano. The piano wasn't really used much in previous soundtracks, but Halo 3's soundtrack almost completely relies on piano at some points in the music. And now some of the piano parts in Halo's music are some of the most iconic parts of this great soundtrack. From the upbeat Warthog Run song to the slow and sad song Never Forget, Halo just simply wouldn't be Halo without its amazing soundtrack. So, next time you're playing Halo and fighting off the Covenant, remember how important Halo's music is. And remember, without the people that made the music, Halo just wouldn't be Halo. And that was episode 3 of Audio Odyssey. I hope everyone had a great time watching, and I hope to see everybody here next week.
Hello, and welcome to your third meeting of Mental State, the show where we dive into the psychological side of classic video game characters. With this being our last episode covering the world of Psychonauts, I think it best to look into an integral character of the series, that being Dr. Caligasto Lobato. This character in particular is interesting, as the only word that I have to describe him is insane. I should preface that insanity is not itself a mental disorder, but more a descriptor for a state of immense mental unease. Without further ado, let us dive into Lobato's psyche. There are also spoilers ahead for Psychonauts. Dr. Lobato's story is a wild one throughout the game's timeline. We are first introduced to him in a brain tumbler experiment. We see him taking the brain out of one of the other campers' heads.
What do you think's wrong with my brain, Doctor?
How should I know? I'm a dentist. But here's what I do know. If a tooth is bad, you pull it!
We later come to find that Lobato was doing this on behalf of Coach Oleander. The next game we find him in deals with Dr. Lobato's theft of the head of the Psychonauts. Here, we find more of his backstory. As a baby, his parents showed him love and affection, wondering what he would become in the future.
I can already tell he's going to be a doctor.
As he grew older, however, things quickly changed. One day, his mother found him bending spoons with his mind. This then sent his parents on a spiral in trying to cure him of his psychic abilities. Their fix, as it would seem, was to send him off to get an ice pick lobotomy. As he was sent away, his parents called him a devil child and a monster.
Soon we'll be free of this devil child.
These events ultimately led him to the path we find him at in the current game. As the Psychonauts pry into his mind, trying to find out who he works for, Lobato begins to realize what is happening.
This was all a trick. I'm not Employee of the Year. I'm the greatest dentist of our century.
This then leads to a nightmare land of teeth, gums, and 9-to-5 office work. Insanity, as stated earlier, is more of a collection of mental illnesses than it is a diagnosis. Dr. Lobato displays many quirks that could relate to different disorders, but to pin one down would be difficult. I think that the presentation of this character is fine. They definitely had fun making the character, and the actor playing him sounds to be having fun as well. When handling insanity in media, it is important not to over-exaggerate the insanity of the character. In doing so, they tend to lose all of their defining traits and become a terrible representation. Dr. Lobato seems to write a line of comedy and seriousness, which helps balance out his interesting personality. Thank you for coming into my office. I have once again been Dr. Snodderly. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you for our 4th session next week.
Gabe, you and your party have been tracking the evil Leprechaun King and his group of evil unicorns through the Canyon of Death and then the mystical, magical forest of fairies and love to where he is now held up in an orphanage, and he's holding and he's like holding a bunch of orphans hostage.
Fireball.
And he's like gonna, okay, you're casting Fireball? Just right at the orphanage? Okay, just, I'm gonna roll a couple of dex saves for the kids and the leprechaun real quick. That's for the leprechaun. All right, he's gonna save. That's a nat 20. And the kids, wow. Okay, the kids got a nat 1. Okay.
Awesome.
So go ahead and just roll 8d6s of damage for me.
48.
Wow, okay, gone.
They're gone? The orphans are gone?
The whole orphanage is just...
But the guy's okay, right?
The whole orphanage is just...
Sweet.
Wow. You are just an evil son of a gun, aren't you?
You know, it's occupational hazard.
Welcome back to Dark and Dumber. I'm your host, Evan. Let's get right into the dungeon. Servers are about to wipe soon, so collecting loot is meaningless. Now saying that, I'm still a greedy little loot goblin, so let's get some loot. With wipe coming, it makes it a lot easier to throw away loot, but of course, now is the only time I'm going to actually make it out of the dungeon. Today, we're going into the ruins, which is the duo-only dungeon. We're going to be running Bard and Ranger to keep it light, because rogues love to come falling from the sky here, from their high-up hiding places. Our first one was pretty much just for supplies, farming mobs for experience and looting equipment for later raids. Ruins is the newest dungeon added to the game, originally able to have 3 players, but with its recent full release, they brought it down to a solo duo dungeon only. It is also the only dungeon that is above ground. There's also a unique mob called the Wisp, a floating ball of light that shoots energy at you, and when it's killed, look away, or you'll be flashed by the explosion. Only player that spotted this run was a cleric right at the end. He just played footsie by a portal, then poof, he's gone. He left the body with a little bit of goodies on him, so we're still good. First run, straight success. Making our way up the stairs of the castle, we figure out you can climb the sides of it. And now, we're the rogues. Sulking in the shadows, we wait for some unsuspecting fool to walk by. It did take a couple of tries to get there without falling though. After waiting a couple minutes, another squad appears, but they spotted us. We must go in now. Evading the wizard but still taking some damage, I take him out. Finishing up the ranger, I go down, but I took 2 of them with me. Starting our 3rd run, we pick up our 3rd party member and make our way into the ruins, the main dungeon filled with the most loot, but also has deadlier mobs and more players. Library spawn is good for loot, you just gotta deal with the mobs. You gotta be careful though, because if you don't, you'll end up like this fighter. Splitting up our party in hopes of finding a revive table to bring back our fighter, but our ranger runs into another party and quickly meets the same fate. It's just me now, and all that matters is maxing out my inventory, getting out of here alive. While looking for a way out, I hear another party above me. I panic. I go back the other way. I start to clear some skellies, then an escape portal shows up. But not a couple seconds later, so does another party. I start to run again, weaving my way between 2 parties, duking it out. Almost all hope was lost, with barely any health left. Then I spot the most glorious sight I could see. A blue portal, all on my own. I made it out. I dodged 2 teams, and I made it out alive. 3rd run, success. That's all the spelunking we have this week for Dark and Dumber. Come back next week and experience the highs and lows of High Roller. Peace out.
The news that matters most is the news that hits close to home. Maryville or Bearcat news, whatever the story, we're there for you.
It could be about you, school, or your safety. Whatever it is, we got you covered. You need to know what's going on in the Northwest Maryville community, and this is a place to find it all out.
This is our home too, and we're in this together.
We are Channel 8 News, covering for you.
Make sure to check out Bearcat Update this week as we're covering the shootout in Warrensburg with the football team, as well as soccer, cross country, and golf. I'm also taking on the esports team and playing Valorant. Check us out.
Welcome back to Mustard's Madness, where this week we are going for a career-high game. With an easy opponent in the San Antonio Spurs, we have the perfect matchup that will let us get some easy looks on offense. Jumping into the end of the first quarter and scoring all 10 of the team's first 10 points, I decide to get my first assist after splitting the double team. Following the assist, we get a feed on the backdoor cut to the basket for an easy 2 points. I get a little careless trying to drive on 2 defenders and get the ball poked away, but luckily I was able to recover and finish on the right side with a scoop layup. 2 straight possessions in a row lead to 6 easy points after I knock down the open 3-point attempts, putting us up by 14 at the end of the first quarter. I get subbed back in during the middle of the second quarter and run the pick and roll with Fox, which gets him another easy layup. Next possession down the court, I'm running the lanes on the fast break and pop out to the wing where Fox hits me and I hit the 3. Wanting to give back to Fox for finding me wide open, I hit him on another cut to the basket where this time he rises up and throws it down. Some good instincts on help defense leads to a fast break opportunity, and after hitting one from the left side earlier, I pop out, shoot over the contest for another 3. With takeover activated, this is where we first see some progress as a quick crossover leads to a nasty one-handed finish over the top of 2 defenders. Just before this game, I unlock the Limitless Range badge, and it's going to be put to use here as I launch a deep 3 and connect. More good help defense gets my 4th steal of the game in just the first half, leading to a 2-handed jam on the first break, which earns us a replay. With the clock ticking down in the second quarter, Fox finds me open 2 steps behind the 3-point line, and I drain it, again, bringing me to 36 points on the first half. And with the game being a blowout, I got minimal playing time in the second half since I'm now a starter, with this 3-pointer being the only highlight and falling just short of the 40-point game. Not bad for my first season. After the game, I go and spend some VC upgrading my player, and this is how it turned out. Here are the badge updates for our finishing, shooting, playmaking, and defensive badges. That will do it for this week's Mustard's Madness. Make sure to tune in next week where we'll have another good game for you.
Well, Phantom Liberty came out, and it's, well, I think I'll let Idris Elba tell you straight up.
The game is fixed.
I may as well completely start over at this point. This Cyberpunk is not the same one I've spent the last 2 weeks talking about. Cyberpunk's one and only planned expansion, Phantom Liberty, has completely blown away any sort of doubt and criticism this game once had, and is now contending as one of the greatest expansions in not only modern day gaming, but of all time. And honestly, it's pretty well deserved. I haven't even come close to seeing the end of this DLC yet, but I've gotten my hands on all the new toys and tricks this game added with its insane new update. I'm going to focus more on the technical side of what's been changed on this week's episode, and we'll dive into the incredible campaign's main story edition when I finish it next week. Which, just be ready for if you love this series. It's a rough one. The first and most obvious change is what gave Cyberpunk its infamous status. CD Projekt Red promised that in a 2-year gap between this game's initial 2020 release and Phantom Liberty would focus a lot of its time into improving the game's overall performance. And boy, did they deliver. It's hard to stumble into awkward bugs and NPCs, which gave this game its almost meme culture. As someone who played pre-Phantom Liberty Cyberpunk, this game feels unrecognizable with its many quality of life changes. Gameplay feels smoother, breaking animations are near to non-existent now, and dozens of other changes to make Night City feel like it's a real, living city. Which also brings me to one of the biggest reworks of this game, the perks and the cyberware. Perks are much different. Before, perks focused more on reloading, stamina, health, and many other admittedly pointless perks that were locked in place once acquired. But now, the player has more control with being able to freely refund perk points once newer abilities are unlocked with a much more build-friendly system. Some of these can range from cyberware tolerance, counter hacks for netrunners, or how much damage reduction you take during car firefights. The way cyberware has also been changed from the basically free endgame content, unrestricted system it once had. Now, the player's health is reliant on the amount of cyberware V has. The more you install, the more health points you receive. But believe me when I say that this is nothing compared to the highlight of this DLC. Its story. I'm not finished with it, I'm not even close, but from what I can tell you is that the first 30 minutes of this story blew the last 10 of the base game out of the water. So, I'm gonna delta out of here and go play that. Catch Cyberpunk next week where I'll answer the burning question that everyone's been asking since Cyberpunk came out. Does V survive? Catch you later, Chumba. Zach, out.
Hello and welcome back to I'm Not a Loser, where I show you how to be as good at video games as I am. When it comes to games of any kind, I'm just a natural. But today we're playing what I believe is the easiest walkthrough of an anarchist gun safe I've ever had. Enter the Gungeon. When it comes to Gungeon, call me Bond. James Bond. Much like other games I've shown, positioning is a great way on how not to die and is something I am great at. Gungeon's dodging mechanic is similar to other games in where for a certain amount of frames you are completely intangible, which allows you to dodge stray bullets and dodge fast attacks. In Gungeon, however, roles have a recovery phase where you can't act but can still get hit. But let's just say I never get hit during these phases. Another vital part of this game is reading. Items can have busted abilities that aren't always shown visually on screen, but can very easily be taken advantage of. Some even so good it rewards you for being bad, which I never need because I'm incapable of being bad. Briefly absorbs enemy bullets and converts them into ammo? That's busted. What? I'm definitely going to be using this. While some of these items can be literal junk, other items can be a lowercase r that literally just spells kaboom. Always be reading descriptions to fully utilize items. Finally, a big thing that Gungeon excels at is dying. When you die in Gungeon, that's it. You're dead. No redos, no do-overs. Even though I never need any do-overs because I'm literally perfect, in Gungeon, every death is a stepping stone towards your inevitable victory. Every attempt leads to more and more tools you can add to your arsenal, which leads to further and further progress until you finally succeed. With these strategies and tips, your trip through the Gungeon should be a little bit easier. When playing Gungeon, you may find permanent death and hard attack patterns to be frustrating, but nothing beats overcoming those challenges. Every problem in Gungeon has an answer, and while I never need to look because I always succeed, look for those answers and never give up. Become like me and blow those enemies away.
Thank you for watching this episode of Gentoo.
Fireball!
Really? We hope you liked it. Make sure to like, subscribe, and turn on notifications to not miss any future episodes. dude, fireball. Really? Do you know any other spells than
I
fireball?
actually maxed out on cantrips.
Like, so you have just a bunch of cantrips and then fireball? Like, can you don't want to take any other spells or anything?
Not really.
Really? Because, like, what if you want to hit, like, one person instead of, like, a group, like, let's say, not as cool. Okay, what if there's, like, a group of innocents, like, let's say, I don't know, orphans?
I mean, occupational hazard at that point.
Wow, you are just one evil son of a gun, aren't you?
You know, just be how it be.
Be how it be. These new woke liberal wizards are trying to ban fireball because it's too dangerous. Back in my day, you could use fireball whenever, wherever, at whoever.
Jonas, I'm being honest with you. Being honest.
When were orphans invented?
Yeah, when were they actually? That's a good question. Can we get that looked up?
Can someone look up when orphans got invented?